Now, here's Gain the Lead with your host, Tyler Renicker.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today, whenever you're listening, for episode 3 of Gain the Lead. Happy to have you along. It's been a little bit since we've last gathered. I was intending to put something together and out there yesterday evening. And those of you with children will understand, dealing with a couple sick kids and a sick wife. So life happens and got in the way. But that's my priority. So delayed. And here we are this evening. My oldest son is still not asleep. So please do forgive me if I end up having to take a brief leave of absence here. Got a lot to cover tonight, so we're gonna have to move right along here. I think I kind of want to start with what I've got on my monitor here in my studio. I've got the showdown between DeChambeau and Koepka and Scheffler and McIlroy on, which is golf for those of you who don't know. And these events are awesome. I don't know why they don't market them very well. A lot of people didn't know that this was even happening tonight, but this has been on since 6 p.m. Eastern. And it pits 4 really, really excellent golfers against each other in multiple different formats. And it's a really, really cool event. I actually couldn't even tell you where this is happening. It looks like it's dark wherever it is. It's probably, I would have to imagine it's in the south or the east coast. It looks a touch chilly, so it may be out in Vegas. But regardless, they've got lights set up on the whole course for night golf, and the earpieces in the players' ears so they can chat with each other, and you can kind of hear. I don't want to say it's trash talk because we're talking about golfers here, but you can hear a little bit of banter back and forth, and it's a really, really cool event to help get a little bit more of a casual fan interested and develop a little bit of a connection with some of these players that you don't normally get to hear talk during their round. You don't really get to hear their thought processes in reading putts, in strategy on how they're going to attack the golf course. And not to mention, this is a beautiful golf course. So really cool event. So far, it pits the PGA against LIV. For those of you who don't follow this, I don't really have the time to get into it tonight, but look it up. LIV Golf is a brand new golf league that was started a few years ago now, that offered the PGA's best players stupid sums of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, guaranteed to come over to this league. And the format is awesome. I actually have grown to really like it. I think it got a really bad rap initially, and I'm warming up to it. But it pits a couple of LIV Golf's stars that left the PGA Tour, went over to LIV, and Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka against Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler, who are the number 3 and number 1 respectively players in the world that are still on PGA Tour, that are really, really probably the PGA Tour's 2 biggest stars and 2 biggest faces that you would recognize. So very cool event, currently airing on TNT and TBS. They're on hole 15, so they've got 3 holes left or so. So tune into that if you're following along live and you're interested. If you happen to catch the audio recording of this at a later date, try to catch a replay or look out for the next one. They do these probably a couple times a year, usually in the off season of the PGA Tour. So You may end up seeing one more in the next couple months. If not, it maybe end up being in the spring. So yeah, wanted to touch on golf a little bit, but don't want to bore the folks who don't give two craps about golf. Understand? I'm a golfer, so it's interesting to me. I evaluated my performance a little bit in the NFL slate and did not really do what I was hoping to do. Unfortunately, the record wasn't great this week. Not bad, but not great. I should be doing better against the spread, though, man. I mean, the spreads are supposed to be even, right? Vegas puts the spreads out as if, picking the spread should be a kind of a coin flip. So I guess if you want to look at it like that, then I did okay. Straight up, I did. I mean, again, decent, but not. There's room for improvement. Let's put it that way. I understand there's only like 3 weeks left of the regular season, so this season is kind of let's call it what it is. It's a warm up for next year, right? Trying to get the format figured out. Let's get what I'm expecting to do ironed out, and I'll be ready next year season. Season opening and week 1. Let's hit the ground running with with an actual format and an actual punishment, and we'll track some stuff and make sure that what I'm picking is I don't know. Let's make it mean something. But I do want to go through the games briefly, not to bore those of you who listen, Jason, who don't give two cares again about football either. But I do want to run through some thoughts on the games this week. The playoffs are shaping up, so that's exciting. Obviously, there's still a couple spots left to be decided, but I think in general we have a pretty good idea of who is in the playoffs and who is not at this point. As I mentioned, a couple teams are still kind of in flux, and we need to iron that out in the last 3 weeks, but it's kind of formalities at this point. So let's jump in here. Rams-Niners we talked about on Saturday. If you listened to episode 2, you heard my thoughts on that game. Crappy game. So let's move into Sunday's games. Let's start with Chiefs-Browns. This final score was Chiefs 21, Browns 7. Chiefs were favored by 4.5, and I did pick the Chiefs. So this is a W, starting off the slate with a W, which is great. This is the first game in a long time that the Chiefs looked in control the entire game. The Browns are not a great football team, as we've mentioned. I feel like the last couple weeks of this podcast, really the entire existence of this podcast, the Browns are not fun to watch. Really kind of a bummer. So it was pretty obvious what the Chiefs were going to do to them. So the spread being 4.5 was really let's call it what it is. It's disrespectful to the Chiefs being a 12-1 football team. But they handled their business pretty easily, won by 14. The big news out of this game, I guess really a couple things, but the biggest news is Patrick Mahomes is hurt. Left the game with an injury. Not exactly sure the extent of it. It is an ankle injury, which I believe Patrick Mahomes has dealt with before. I did see today that because the Chiefs play this upcoming Saturday, the practice schedule is moved up one day this week. So they actually started practice today, Tuesday, and I did see the Chiefs listed Patrick Mahomes as a full participant in practice. So that is good news if you're a Chiefs fan, that Mahomes will not miss any time potentially. But the Chiefs do have a couple back-to-back games coming up. Saturday, they will play the Texans, and then they play the following Wednesday. So a couple quick hitters here that if you have a high ankle sprain as the quarterback of a 13-1 football team, that's not ideal to go out and play multiple NFL games in the span of like 11 days. Not neat. So we'll see what they do with Patrick Mahomes. I could see them resting him Saturday to prepare for their game on Christmas Day next week. But we'll see. They do have a relatively firm grip on the 1 seed in the AFC right now. The biggest challenger, I believe, is the Bills. The Ravens are at a little bit of a distance in the AFC, and as are the Bills. I think the Chiefs now have a 2-game lead on the Bills, who are 11-3, and then the Ravens. Let's see, where are the Ravens? They're 9-5, so they're well out of range of the 1 seed. So really, the Chiefs just have to think about the Bills, and so they can actually. I mean, don't crucify me here, but they can afford to drop one in the next couple weeks and still have the 1 seed wrapped up pretty easily. So we'll see on Patrick Mahomes, but overall, this game was not fun to watch. Jameis Winston is the other newsworthy topic out of this game. Jameis was benched after throwing 3 picks. All of them, I should say, 2 of them were in the end zone that they were driving towards. So don't have to worry about the pick sixes that I've mentioned, but not a good performance. Classic Jameis performance. I mean, there were a couple times where he would just spin around a couple times and wing it and hope that his guy caught it instead of a Chiefs player. And that's not a very good bet to make when you're playing against the Chiefs defense. So Jameis was benched in favor of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and that's fun to say. So let's just call him DTR. And DTR is now the starter, was named the starter for this upcoming week for the Browns. Again, does not matter. The Browns are 3-11. They have no shot at the playoffs. They have really nothing they're playing for other than maybe trying to get some of their players some experience. So, sure, try him out. Let's see. He started a couple games in his career. They have not gone well. Let's see if some time on the bench helped him figure some things out. Don't know. We'll find out. Next game, let's move along to Bengals Titans. That one was Bengals 37, Titans 27 final. Bengals were favored by 5.5 points. I picked the Bengals. There's another W. We start off 2-0. The Bengals looked slow out of the gate, which is not surprising if you follow the Cincinnati Bengals. They started out this season slow out of the gate, and it's proven to derail their entire season. I believe they're down to about a 5-ish% chance of making the playoffs now, as a team that really has the talent to be in the playoffs. So, unfortunate kind of the way the cookie crumbled there for the Bengals fans and the Bengals franchise in general. But the Titans are a terrible football team. The Bengals took care of them relatively easily once Will Levis started serving up some hot apple turnovers. Shout out, Cade. The Titans looked completely inept until the fourth quarter when they scored a few garbage time touchdowns, a couple touchdowns. So the Bengals had this game in hand pretty easily and ended up winning by double digits. Joe Burrow, I believe it is his 6th straight game with over 250 yards and 3 touchdown passes. That's wild. The only person to have ever done that prior to Joe Burrow doing it this season was Tom Brady. So good company to be in if you're Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, like I said, you're contributing to a season that is not going to make the playoffs, and you're not going to get your due that you should. If the Bengals were a playoff team, if they were right now their record is 6-8. If they were even 8-6 and sniffing the playoffs, I think Joe Burrow would be firmly entrenched in the MVP discussion. He is not, because the Bengals are not good. Sorry. So, yeah, that game, Bengals win. That's about all I have to say about that. Moving right along, Commanders and Saints. This game wasn't exciting until it was. What I mean by that is the Commanders were up 20 to 7. They were up 17-0 and then 20-7 in the fourth quarter in this game. So this game looked like it was well in hand. Jaden Daniels, the Washington quarterback, was playing well. He missed a couple passes, but nothing that you would imagine would lose him the football game. He made a couple great passes to Terry McLaurin for touchdowns, rushed the ball well, averaged 6 yards a carry, carried it 11 times for 66 yards, and had a pretty good completion percentage and went 25 of 31. So if you look at just his stat lines, there's nothing here that makes you think, oh, Washington might have blown this game. The Saints are not a good football team. Jake Haener, who I mentioned last episode, was starting his first NFL game and looked like he did not belong on the field, which is saying something. So, I mean, he was getting sacked left and right. Just didn't look like he knew what he was doing. Looked like if you threw a high school quarterback out there and just said, hey, go have fun, buddy, run a couple plays that you like, and don't get killed out there. That's what it looked like. So the Saints ended up replacing Jake Haener in the third quarter with a quarterback named Spencer Rattler, who, for you sports fans, would know that name as he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Very highly touted quarterback with a lot of talent. The talent did not pan out in college. He was fine, but nothing special. Made the NFL and is now on the Saints roster. I say all that to say that Spencer Rattler played well after he came in the game and gave the Saints a chance to win. The Saints scored with no time left on the clock to make the game 20-19, pending the extra point. So they could have kicked the extra point for the tie to force overtime. The Saints chose to go for a 2-point conversion to win the game, which they failed to convert. So they lost the game on the last second, which is a bummer for them, but they knew that they weren't going to be successful if they ended up going to overtime with the Commanders. So don't blame them at all. I don't think it was the wrong decision to go for 2. Just didn't work out. The newsworthy event of this game is that very late in this game, the Saints were out of timeouts, had no ability to stop the clock, and the second to last play was a play that ended short of the goal line in the field of play, which means the clock continues to run. However, the clock did not continue to run. For some unknown reason, the referee, an official, I shouldn't say the referee, an official ran in from the sideline, stopping the clock in a situation that the clock clearly should not be stopped. And the clock was paused for almost 4 full seconds. I think I saw 3.94 seconds. Somebody timed it out. And the Saints were able to spike the ball to stop the clock with, I believe, 4 seconds left. So it was very, very close to, if that clock would have continued to run, the clock would have expired without them being able to spike the football and stop the clock. So I hope you followed all that. I know it's tough to kind of follow in your head, but check out a clip on Twitter or on ESPN or something if you want to check it out. But it was very interesting to watch in real time, and it would have been a much, much, much bigger story and a true tragedy if the Saints ended up winning based on a clock error on their home field, mind you. So Commanders do come away with the victory, 20-19. They were favored by 7.5, and I did take the Commanders, so that is an L. Those of you who watched the game, it's kind of bogus that I lost that one, but whatever. It's an L. So 2-1. We move on. Ravens and Giants. This one was predicted to be lopsided, and it was. Ravens 35, Giants 14. The Ravens are a very good football team that has 5 losses. I don't know how they've lost 5 times, I'll be honest with you. Their first couple losses of the season were very confusing and didn't really make a lot of sense. The first loss of the season was to the Chiefs. And if you can think back, if you remember watching that game, or if you didn't watch that game, a Ravens tight end caught a game-winning touchdown pass, but it was ruled out of bounds by a literal toenail, millimeter, I don't know, very small unit of measurement, whatever you want to insert. Dirty jokes not welcome. So that was a crazy loss. And then the next week they follow it up with a loss to the Raiders, which is probably the most confounding loss of the season in the entire NFL. The Raiders are a horrible football team, and the Ravens very good. And the Raiders were able to beat the Ravens in week 2. So the Ravens actually started this season 0-2, which was mind-blowing. So they've since been 9-3, which is a very good record. And they were favored in this game by 16, which is a insane spread for an NFL game. Most NFL games, if you are a double-digit favorite, it's a very lopsided game. 16 points is next to unheard of. The Giants, I heard a stat this week, and I don't have it in front of me, but the Giants hadn't been double-digit home underdogs in something like 40 years, 60 years, something like that. Something ridiculous. And here they found themselves as 16-point underdogs, and they didn't even cover. They ended up losing by 21 points. Lamar Jackson throws for 5 touchdowns. So fantasy managers rejoice. Fantasy playoffs started this week for a lot of you. So if you had Lamar Jackson, congratulations on your advancement to the next round. Derrick Henry was really quiet this game. I don't know if I voiced my opinion out loud last week, but I really thought Derrick Henry would feast in this game, and he ended up with 14 carries for 67 yards, no touchdowns. So strange one for Derrick Henry, when you would imagine that they would just want to run the ball down their throat and run the clock out and get out of there. Whatever. The problem with this game, and why most people would not want to have watched this game, is the Giants started 2 quarterbacks who really also shouldn't be quarterbacks in the NFL. Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, whatever, however you know him, the tiny Italian man that oohed and awed people last season by winning like 2 games. Neat. Is back as the starter for this program. And the Giants they're giving up. By starting Tommy DeVito, they are waving the white flag and saying, we want nothing else to do with this season. We want a high draft pick. Thanks. So that was really rough. And then he gets hurt in the game. So they send in his backup. So if he shouldn't be in there, I don't think his backup should probably be in there. Right? Do the math. Tim Boyle. Now, Tim Boyle has a tough name, but in addition to that, Tim Boyle has like surfed around the league for the last like 6 or 8 years, something like that, as a like 3rd string, 4th string practice squad quarterback. Give this man his due, because somehow this guy's still around playing football, slinging the ball around, and he's terrible. So he must just be like a locker room light of the world, or some kind of secret weapon that unites all people of all creeds, because this guy shouldn't be on any roster ever. He should be like bagging groceries, or like probably selling insurance. Like, I don't know, whatever. I guess he was able to deliver the ball to a few receivers today, but it was not pretty. So tough game to watch. But I get my pick right, because I picked the Ravens minus 16. So we're 3-1. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to Cowboys Panthers. Cowboys Panthers ended up. So if you listen to episode 2, right, I preview all the games and give you some stats, talk about what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen. I talk Carolina up. I tell you that they're favored for the first time in 33 games. They're playing really good football. They haven't really won lately. They're not winning games, but they're riding high, right? They're like, yeah, we're playing decent ball. Let's go out there and get the W for our home crowd. The Panthers are bad. So I kind of forgot that small detail that they suck when I ended up picking them last week. And the real brutality of it is I I had the Cowboys highlighted on my sheet, and as I was gonna spit out the Cowboys to cover the 3 points, I said, you know what? No, screw it. Let's go Carolina. They're playing good ball. I think they're gonna beat the Cowboys. Yeah, genius. Yeah, look out. Um, Cowboys 30, Panthers 14. Um, and it wasn't that close. It was a lopsided game. Cowboys ran away with this one, never in doubt. Um, I don't know. I guess it got to the Panthers' head. All the success of losing games close. Yeah, um, must have really got to their heads because they came out super flat. Um, I don't know. I think the Cowboys just saved Mike McCarthy's job, their head coach. Um, they've had a pretty terrible season, and a lot of people thought McCarthy was done for, like just biding his time, waiting for the Grim Reaper to come and take him away, and Jerry Jones would figure out another option. Jerry doesn't really like to fire coaches. The owner of the Cowboys, not really known for moving on from guys when he should. This will fall right into line. And Mike McCarthy at 6-8, he's lost his starting quarterback for the year, and he's got some injuries on defense that are probably going to buy him another season, at least, which sucks for Cowboys fans. I feel for you because he needs to be gone for you guys to be good, and he's not going to be. So, sorry. Buckle up. Hope you get a good draft pick, and yeah, good luck the rest of the season. Um, I picked Carolina -3, so that's puts me at 3-2 against the spread. But 4-1 straight up, so that's my first loss straight up. Let's move to Jets and Jags. This was also kind of a bummer of a game, as I mentioned in the preview. The Jets looked competent. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good. I'll tell you who looked really good is Davante Adams. May have just taken him a few weeks to get back in rhythm with Aaron Rodgers. Those dudes go way back to Green Bay. They've played a lot of football together, and it looked like it watching this game. Davante Adams ends with 9 receptions for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Jets end up beating the Jaguars 32-25. Kind of a weird score. But the Jets were favored by 3.5 points. I picked the Jets. That puts us at 4-2 against the spread and 5-1 straight up. So so far so good. But don't worry, the losing streak is coming. Mac Jones was kind of repulsive in this one. And I don't really mean his play. Like, he played fine. He played, adequate football. Like, gave the Jaguars a chance to win, right? Which is all you can ask from Mac Jones, truly. Brian Thomas, their excellent receiver, who I continue to mention on this podcast, again showed out, had 2 scores, is really the lone bright spot on that Jaguars offense. Good for them, but the Jets end up winning the toilet bowl of the week, and they're both eliminated from the playoffs, so this game really doesn't matter, other than what's going to happen next year with the Jets. Are they going to keep Aaron Rodgers around? Are they going to try to keep the nucleus of players that they have, which are very talented players? I don't know. We'll find out. But it was encouraging if you're a Jets fan to watch this game today and see Davante Adams balling. That was cool. Beat the Jaguars. That's a good thing. And yeah, I think that's the first positive thing that Jets fans have seen in a number of weeks. So neat. Moving along to Dolphins and Texans. This one was a disappointment for me. I thought good things would happen, and for the Dolphins, and they did not. Bad things happened, in fact. Tua looked terrible, and I should have mentioned this, and it was brought to light by a podcast I listened to called "Pardon My Take" by Barstool Sports. The Dolphins are not good against good football teams, and I forgot that fact. Their wins this year are against pretty much trash squads. The Jaguars, the Patriots, the Rams is the exception to that, but the Raiders, the Patriots again, and the Jets, not good, not great programs. So tough sledding for them because they've lost to every good team they've played, and they also lost to the Titans. But that was without Tua. Anyway, the Dolphins looked very mediocre. Worse than that, even maybe. Tua threw multiple interceptions this game. Was not a good performance from him. So they are all but dead in the playoff hunt in the AFC. I mentioned on last episode that they really needed to win out to have a chance at the playoffs, and they did not. Texans didn't wow anybody in this game. I mean, they won 20-12, so relatively low scoring. Derek Stingley had a couple picks of Tua late, but I think both in the fourth quarter. He looked good. That was really the only thing to write home about in this one. So, yeah, Texans are 9-5. They clinched the AFC South with the Colts loss that we're going to talk about here shortly. But yeah, the Texans may be one of the worst 11-5, 12-5 teams that we end up seeing in the NFL. They're winning, but they're not playing anybody great. So we'll see what they end up doing in the playoffs. Not really sure. All right. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I've got sick kids and a sick wife, and I'm getting an SOS. So I am gonna have to go help out my wife. I'm gonna leave it live, but give me 5 minutes here. We'll take a brief intermission, and I'll leave you with maybe some music to listen to. But I'll be back shortly. game. Apologize for but we've got a 2-month-old daughter that has decided to not be asleep for the last hour and a half straight. So my wife was asking for a little tap out. All right. So just got done covering Dolphins Texans. Let's move on to what's next. I guess I did need to mention I took the Dolphins +3 against the Texans. Lost that one. So that moves me to 4-3 against the spread. 5-2 straight up. Colts Broncos. Let's go there. I live in Indianapolis. Just for context, for those of you who don't know. And the Colts blew this game so badly. It's hard to fathom it if you didn't watch it happen. The Colts had the lead in this game. They started off strong. Anthony Richardson made a couple great runs. One of them for a touchdown early. And the Colts looked decent. They looked like they were competing with the Broncos, who are a playoff team. And things were going well. And the turning point in this game, I don't know how we are in 2024 and we've seen this happen literally probably we've got to be in the dozens of times area now. Like it's happened countless times where a player will have a clear path to the end zone and they drop the ball before they cross the goal line. How does that happen today? How is that still happening? It's infuriating to watch because these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to score the football, to play football, and that includes carrying the ball until the play is whistled dead. And Taylor drops the ball right before he crosses the goal line. Jonathan Taylor, the Colts running back. And what is potentially the most controversial rule in football is if it's a fumble outside of the end zone that rolls into the end zone and out of bounds, it is a touchback for the other team. So the Colts go from about to score to go up 20-7, which is a pretty big lead in the end, in the middle of the third quarter. And instead, Jonathan Taylor coughs it up, and the Broncos take over on their own 20 with the ball. So that was the beginning of the end of this one for the Colts, and there were a couple questionable, let's call it, play calls. One of them being A.D. Mitchell's toss back to Anthony Richardson, or attempted toss back to Anthony Richardson, that ended up going for a pick six. And the tide of this game turned pretty quickly, and the Broncos ended up winning 31-13. They were favored by 5 points, the Broncos, so I took them, and I win my pick, but I'm not thrilled to say it because the Colts' entire season rode on this game. If they were able to beat the Broncos, who is the only team really that they're competing with for that last playoff spot, their playoff odds were so dramatically different as a result of this game. The Colts, if they won this game, their playoff odds would have been in the 60s as far as a percentage to make the playoffs. They lost this game, and their playoff percentage is now 6. So the Colts season is effectively over, which, I mean, sucks. But at the same time, as a casual Colts fan, Chris Ballard has had a job for way too long. Sorry. He's been riding coattails of the Andrew Luck era, and he's had a really really good offensive line pretty much since he took over, right? Like Andrew Luck had a terrible line. We drafted Quentin Nelson. We drafted Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith. Like we drafted these guys and built a outstanding offensive line. And he's had that for the last several years now. But he can't we can't put a roster together that has any success. So I like Chris Ballard. I think he's a good guy. I'm not attacking his character, but he's had a job too long. And Shane Steichen has proven to be not a great coach. Like, he's okay, but he takes some risks. And if you rewind a couple weeks to the Patriots game that the Colts ended up winning by going for 2 in the end, if he doesn't make that 2-point conversion, if Anthony Richardson does not get across the goal line, people are mobbing the streets with pitchforks and torches to fire Shane Steichen because he makes some calls that are just questionable is putting it kindly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the Colts are 6-8. Their playoff chances, like I said, are pretty much dashed. So what's going to happen in the offseason? Are they going to clean house? I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, they're cruising the rest of the season with nothing. So tough one to watch if you're a Colts fan. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that one. Let's move to the afternoon slate, which was a lot better than the early slate. Bills Lions. Let's just get right into the meat and potatoes of it here. Bills 48, Lions 42. This was a barn burner of a game. The Bills offense is just unstoppable, especially the last few games. Josh Allen has looked like he's just shifted into another gear. I don't know that. I mean, most people don't know that he has that gear, but he does. The guy is a beast. I love the way he plays football. The guy is, I mean, as a quarterback, you tend to be a little bit cautious, right? Because the team rides on you being healthy and making good decisions, right? Josh Allen plays with reckless abandon, and it's awesome. If you're a Bills fan, you're probably crapping down your leg every time you watch him run into a group of defenders, because he runs like a running back. He just runs with his shoulder down and just looks to hit somebody. Which, as a quarterback, again, it takes one hit and your season is over if you're the Bills. Look at Anthony Richardson. Look at that guy running the football. He gets hurt every other time he runs. So you look at Josh Allen running and you're like, please, no, please stop. Just don't. We have a running back for a reason. And you do, but Josh Allen running is a whole other dimension for that team that makes them awesome. The Lions, on the other hand, have some serious problems to deal with on the defense. They had a couple other injuries today. Carlton Davis and Aleem McNeil, both key defenders to an already injured Lions defense that could not afford another injury, and they were dealt, I think, actually 3 season-ending injuries on the defense on Sunday. So they give up 48 points at home, albeit to the Bills, but 48 points is a lot of points. And I did hear a stat today that there has not been a team in the history of the league that has given up 45 points or more at home and gone on to win the Super Bowl. Take that for what it's worth. But the Lions are going to have an uphill climb here. They are still absolutely in the hunt for the 1 seed in the NFC, but without a defense, it is going to be tough sledding to get there. They still have a relatively tough schedule to end the season. I know they still have to play the Vikings, who are also right there for the 1 seed. Both teams are 12-2. They're at Chicago this coming weekend, which should be an easy win. The Bears have looked atrocious. And then at the 49ers, who are kind of Jekyll and Hyde this year. They've got a lot of injuries, but the 49ers have talent, and they've got a hell of a head coach. So that's not an automatic W. And then, like I said, the Vikings to finish the year is probably going to decide the division and the 1 seed. So the Lions could absolutely slide out of the 1 seed, and they may end up at the 5, which means they're going to have to play, I don't know, potentially the Buccaneers, who they lost to earlier this year. So the Lions desperately need to win out and get that 1 seed, so they have some time to heal, and they have one less playoff game to play. The Bills, on the other hand, let's go back to them. They are firing on all cylinders. As sketchy as the Chiefs have looked this season, the Bills have looked great. They look very good at 11-3, and the Chiefs have looked meh at 13-1. So, riddle me that. But they're both winning. Those teams are probably going to be the last ones standing in the AFC, and them and the Ravens. Amon-Ra St. Brown, built different. James Cook, he's starting to get fired up for the playoffs here. These two teams are very good. I was mentioning that this was a Super Bowl preview in my last episode when I was previewing this game. With the Lions injuries, I think a road to the Super Bowl is going to be really tough for them. So, Bills 48, Lions 42. I did pick the Bills to cover. That line was Bills plus 2.5, and they won outright. So that moves me to 6-3 on the spread and 7-2 straight up. Other game that could have been a Super Bowl preview this week is Steelers and Eagles. This game ended up not being that great, right? Amazing what happened in the second half of this game. The score's 17-13 at halftime. So we've got a tight game. Eagles are playing well, but so are the Steelers looked okay. 4 points is nothing. A whole half of football left, right? The Steelers get the ball twice in the second half. They run 11 total plays in the second half. And the Eagles just ran the ball down their throats, ticked time off the clock the entire second half, put on an absolute masterclass in clock management, and just sealing this game up. All while they scored 10 more points and held the Steelers to nothing in the second half. The Steelers had a fumble and then a punt were their 2 possessions of the second half. I don't care how good of a team you are. If you only get 2 possessions in the second half, I don't know how you win a football game. Score a touchdown on both of those, that's still only 14 points. So if the Eagles' defense is going to be that good, the Eagles will walk to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think the Eagles and the Lions going into this week were head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC. Along with maybe the Vikings. I don't want to undersell the Vikings, right? They weren't predicted to be up there, but they have been, and credit to them. But now I would say the Eagles alone are head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC until the Vikings prove that they belong up there. I think that it's very possible they do, but until I see it against top caliber teams, we're gonna assume that the Eagles are kind of alone up there. And I think the Lions will lose at least one more game this season, and the Eagles schedule to finish is they've got the Commanders this week, who they beat earlier this season already, but this one's in Washington, and then the Cowboys and Giants, which they'll win. So the Eagles absolutely could win out, finish 15-2, and should give them the 1 seed. Assuming Minnesota doesn't win out as well, I do not know who would win the tiebreaker there. It was something based on like strength of victory or something like that. I don't even know how it's calculated, so we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. Unfortunately, the Steelers were plus 5.5 in this one. I took the Steelers. Eagles cover easily, winning 27-13. and that puts me at 6-4 against the spread, 7-3 straight up. Patriots Cardinals is the next game of the afternoon slate. This one was unfortunately kind of the snooze fest of the afternoon. The teams just they weren't as good as the rest of the teams that were playing. It was the game that you didn't care about watching because all these other games were on and all these other games were great. The Patriots, the Cardinals win 30-17. Cardinals were favored by 6 in this one. I took the Patriots for some reason, +6, and they lost by 13. So 6-5 against the spread, 7-4 straight up. Cardinals started running it down their throats at the end of the game, and James Conner had a great fourth quarter, and the Cardinals salted this one away. I mean, they looked good. Their season, I mean, okay, so you look at the NFC West standings, and the Cardinals are right there, record-wise. They're only a game back of both the Rams and the Seahawks. Unfortunately for Arizona, they lost both their games against Seattle, and they did beat the Rams in the second game of the season. They do have to play the Rams again, so they need to win that one. They really need to win out to have a shot here. Now, the saving grace here for the Cards is Geno Smith for the Seahawks, and we'll cover this shortly in that game, but Geno Smith goes down with an injury. Not certain the severity of it, but if Seattle starts to choke down the stretch here, that will help Arizona, because if Seattle removes themselves from contention in this division, then Arizona only has to deal with the Rams, who they crushed in the second game of the season, 41-10. So the Cardinals know how to beat them, and if they can beat them again here in week 17, it'll be next week, then they're right there, because their other two games to finish the season are Carolina and the 49ers, who they also beat earlier this year. Speaking about the 49ers. So I wouldn't write the Cardinals off yet, to be honest. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback when he wants to be. Consistency, I guess, is an issue for him, but if he can be consistent and get this team, to win out their last 3 and finish at 10-7, they've got as good a chance as anybody to be to be at the top of the NFC West, despite the Rams and how they've looked. So good for the Cardinals. Bucks and Chargers is the next one. Bucks and Chargers, man, I'm on a little losing streak here now. The Buccaneers just absolutely destroyed the Chargers in this game. J.K. Dobbins going down for the Chargers was massive, and I don't think we all gave it credit. I certainly didn't when it happened, because they've got Gus Edwards, they've got a couple backup running backs that are capable, but their run game, the Chargers' run game since Dobbins has gone down, has been non-existent. And when any team in the NFL gets one-dimensional, the NFL is too good to struggle against one dimension. If all you have to do is prepare for the pass, you're gonna be fine. Any defense is gonna stop that. You have to have a balanced offense to have a successful offense, and without a run game for the Chargers, it's tough. I mean, Justin Herbert's a great quarterback, but he can only do so much. So this game was absolutely close at halftime, 17-13. Chargers were actually up, and Tampa Bay just comes out at halftime and in a whole nother gear. Mike Evans continues to cement himself as one of the greatest receivers in NFL history, and he does not get his due for that. Mike Evans, he needs to average, I think I heard 83.3 yards over his last 3 games to eclipse 1,000 yards for the 11th straight time every season he's been in the league, that would be he would be over 1,000 yards, and that is an unbelievable stat. That alone puts him in the upper echelon of history in this league as a receiver. But yeah, for some reason he doesn't get his due with the Randy Mosses and the Calvin Johnsons and the Terrell Owens and Marvin Harrison and Chris Carter. Those names are who you think of when you think of NFL greats at the receiver position. Mike Evans is absolutely there. Absolutely deserves to be in that conversation. So great to have him back for Tampa Bay. They obviously lost Chris Godwin mid-season to a gruesome, I believe it was an ankle. And Evans was hurt, I believe, in the same game with just a hamstring, but he was out for 4 or 5 weeks. So they were left with like Jalen McMillan and somebody else that I don't even recall who the other receiver was. Cade Otton was the tight end who was catching passes, and he absolutely feasted while those guys were out. But the Bucs had a tough go of it for a few weeks without Evans. And since Mike Evans has been back, Tampa Bay is back on the horse and looking dangerous. Don't want to play Tampa Bay if you're that 2 seed. I believe, right? Is it the 2 seed that's going to end up playing Tampa? No, Tampa will probably be a division winner, so they'll be a 4 seed. So they'll end up playing 5. So whoever does not win the NFC North will likely be the 5 seed. I think that's all but locked up. So you're looking at either the Lions, the Vikings, or that's, I think, the options, because the Packers, I think, they're 10-4, so I think it's still technically possible. But it's probably the Lions or the Vikings that are going to end up playing the Buccaneers, or potentially the Eagles if they don't wrap up the 1. No, but the Eagles will win the division. So no, that 5 seed's going to the loser of the NFC North. So buckle up, whoever's playing Tampa Bay, because they're playing some damn good football. I picked the Chargers. Idiot. Chargers were favored by 3. Buccaneers win 40-17 by 23. The Buccaneers win. That's a loss against the spread and straight up, so that puts me at 6-6 against the spread and 7-5 straight up. So not great. Luckily, we'll end the last few games here on a win streak. Sunday night game: Packers and Seahawks. This was all Packers from the get-go. It was wild because I had a buddy text me early in this game before I actually was able to turn it on, and he said, "I'm shocked that this is in Seattle because it sounds like a Green Bay home game." And I lived in Seattle for a little bit. I never went to a Seahawks game, but I know those fans out there, and I know how much pride they have in the Clink, CenturyLink Field, which I think is now a different name. But I love the nickname, the Clink. It's awesome. But they take a lot of pride in that. And so for Green Bay fans to come in there and make it sound like a home game is wild to me. But it did. I flipped it on, and I'm hearing the crowd go wild for Green Bay on the plays that they're making. So Seattle, get your act together. Your home field advantage is one of the best in the league typically. So and I'm an owner of the Packers, so I like the Packers. Good for them. But what are you doing, Seattle? Josh Jacobs continues his tear with another touchdown, 26 carries, 94 yards. Jordan Love looked great. I think the Packers. It's crazy to me how, and I mention this every single episode, I feel like the NFC North is unbelievable this year. The Lions 12-2, the Vikings 12-2, the Packers are 10-4. The Packers would be winning any other NFC division except, I think, the West. So they'd be easily winning. Except the East. They'd be easily winning the NFC West, and they would have wrapped up, I believe, the NFC South by now. So the Packers are, in any other season, great. And here they are in third place in their own division at 10-4. Wild. But I did take the Packers. They were favored by 2.5 points. So that's a win against the spread, 7-6, straight up 8-5. As we move into the Monday night games, these were a total snooze fest. From early Monday morning, I'm like, okay, I don't even want to take the time to watch these games, right? These are lopsided games. They're not even going to be good. Why would I waste my time? So I didn't watch. So I really have nothing to say about these games. Vikings win 30-12, easily cover the 7. And I did choose the Vikings there, so 8-6 against the spread, 9-5 straight up. The Bears are abysmal. Bears season is over. They've lost 8 straight games now after being 4-2, basically 5-2, because that Hail Mary that Jaden Daniels threw, that should have been a win for the Bears. I mean, they had the game if they played a lick of defense. If Tyree Stevenson wasn't like, just, talking mad crap to all the Commanders fans. Okay, pal. Yeah, that clip is unbelievable. But regardless, the Bears are atrocious. The Vikings are that good. 12-2, easy dub. Sam Darnold is going to get a contract. Good for him. Second game of Monday night was Falcons 15, Raiders 9. You may remember back to episode 2, I did have a caveat. I picked the Raiders, but I had the caveat that if Aiden O'Connell sits, I'm taking the Falcons. Aiden O'Connell was out. Desmond Ridder played. Desmond Ridder is garbage. He's not good. Not a good player. Now, that said, Kirk Cousins also looked terrible this game. There was the offense of this game was atrocious. Again, I didn't watch, so I heard. Atrocious enough that I just saw about an hour ago that the Falcons are benching Kirk Cousins in favor of Michael Penix Jr. So get your Penixes ready, because that's a big change, because the Falcons are still in playoff contention here, people. So this is not a give up, let's just see what our rookie has here. This is we're still trying to win. And we're going to try out our Penix. So good for them. We'll see. Lefty, so he's going to come out and sling it. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But that line was, I had it at the Falcons -4. They cover that. I believe by game time it was Falcons -6. So that is a push. But I am taking the -4 because that's what it was when I recorded the episode. So I finish up the week 9-6 against the spread. There were 16 games, but I did not pick the Thursday night game. And 10-5 straight up. So could it be better? Yeah, absolutely could be better. But I don't know. Not that disappointed in it. Try to do better next week. So that's the NFL recap for you all. Standard week, I guess. But I want to move into a couple other things to touch on before we get into King of the Hill. The NBA ratings came out, or some news came out about the NBA ratings. And over the last, I had the stat pulled up. Over the last 12 years. Yeah. Over the last 12 years, the NBA's ratings are down 48%. So they have lost almost half of their viewership over the last 12 years. Rewind 12 years ago, what was going on? 2012, second Obama term. LeBron was with the Heat, and I think that was maybe the year that he ended up going back to Cleveland. So the league had a lot of suspense and storylines, and people, the players cared, right? The ratings are down 28% this year alone on ESPN. And it's a product of a couple things, in my opinion. But one of the biggest problems that the NBA has is the players don't give a rip. Like, they're sitting out they're sitting out a game every other week, and it's this load management garbage. It's this 3-point line that they're just jacking up threes that it's not fun to watch. Like, the offense is stagnant. It's a bunch of standing around an iso ball. And, our local team, the Pacers, they're not even on a local network. Like, you have to pay a subscription to watch them. Forget it, dude. The Pacers are not that good. Like, yeah, cool, they made the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever last year. Okay. Got destroyed by the Celtics. Nobody predicted them to be there. So, and they got lucky with some injuries. They played the Knicks as they were hurt, and they get into the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics and get destroyed. And this year, so after that, the expectations for that team, that young, super young team, are sky high, and they're not succeeding because of it this year. They all think they're like hot shit now because they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they're playing like garbage. But as for the fans, I think the Pacers are on Bally Sports or something that it's not on cable. It's not on YouTube TV. You have to pay a separate subscription for it. Forget it. NBA regular season, get out of here with that. Who cares? It's 82 games. Like, dude, the players don't even care. You lose a game and they're like, oh, whatever, man. We'll come back out and, try a little bit harder next time. We'll regroup. We'll watch some film. Dude, they don't care, man. And, like, if they don't care, why is anybody else going to care? The only people that give a rip about the NBA right now are, like, Celtics fans and, like, Cavs fans in the first 15 games of the year. Dude, honestly, the NBA's got a huge problem with its product, and how they get it out to the fans. The NFL is the gold standard. It's on network TV. The games are accessible. They have the ability. I mean, the Red Zone channel in the NFL is the best. Like, if you care about action, which football historically that's its knock, right? Is like, you watch a 3-hour football game and there's like, 30 minutes of actual action going on, like actual plays. But the Red Zone moves you around to every single game that's going on, and it puts you in the game that has plays happening that are close to scoring. And if there's a long touchdown that they may not see live, you get to watch it immediately after. So you're watching all the action happen on one channel. And I will sit, like, if I don't have commitments, and I've got 2 kids under 3, so I got commitments, all right? But if I don't have commitments, I'm watching Red Zone for like 8 hours straight every Sunday. Like, fantasy football, Red Zone, the NFL has got such a good product, and they're not alienating the average guy. Like, they're doing a little bit of the political BS of the, like, in the end zones, it takes all of us, and the end racism stuff. Like, yeah, cool. We all want to do that, right? But, like, stop. Like, we're watching these games to get away from that garbage. Like, don't bring that into my living room when I have sports on. Like, I don't want to hear LeBron tell me who to vote for. Piss off with that, dude. If I need to hear that, I'll look it up somewhere. I'll figure it out. Go to a Kamala rally or something if you want to do that. Don't talk about it in some post-game interview. I'm there to hear why you missed the game-winning 3 again, not why I should vote for somebody who's paying you to say you should vote for them. It's so tone deaf to, like, the average person that's watching this that it's no wonder that, like, Cuban wants more exposure in China. Because the Chinese, who cares? The Chinese don't give a rip about American politics. They just want sick basketball. And that's why the rest of the world is catching up to the United States in talent. Is like, they give a shit. It's just what it is, man. And it's obvious if you look at the ratings of the NBA. It's not hard to see. So Adam Silver, I mean, he's got a tough gig right now because he's got to revitalize the NBA. And all this, political bull that the NBA's been into for the last 10 years, get it out. Get it out. You need to make these guys play when they're healthy. People are paying hundreds of dollars to watch LeBron, to watch Steph Curry, to watch Joel Embiid, to watch these dudes come out and play. And if they're resting, dude, give me a break. You get paid 8 figures, 9 figures to play a game, bro. Like, get your ass on the court and run around. I don't care if it's a cardio night. Be in a uniform so my kid can watch you. Like, it's ridiculous. And what I think needs to happen, right? And it'll never happen because money. But the NBA needs to lower their schedule probably in half. Make it, 40 games. It matters if you lose one. Like that's I think a huge reason why the NFL is so successful is they only play 17 games. Every game matters. If you lose a game in the NFL, it's a big deal. It's a massive deal. It's playoff implications. It's division. It's draft picks. But the NBA plays 82 games, man. Who cares? The best team of all time lost 9 games. So, like, one game you lose, especially in the beginning of the season, whatever. They don't give a rip. They're getting paid anyway. It's just, it's a tough product to watch, man. And I think they've really become disconnected from the average fan. So, again, huge problem for the NBA. I don't know what you do about that, but that's my thoughts. Speaking of the NBA, last episode, we talked a little bit about LeBron James and his break from the Lakers. Pretty interesting that he takes a break for 4 days, and nobody knows where he went. You ask JJ Redick, the coach of the Lakers, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. He personal reasons, it's excused. Who cares? And normally, the media, who is obsessed is an understatement with LeBron James and any news about LeBron James, they will talk about what pair of socks LeBron James wore. They'll talk about what cheeseburger he ate today. LeBron's not eating cheeseburgers, but you get my drift. We didn't hear boo about this guy's leave of absence from his team, which is wild to me that they want to brush this under the rug. And then he comes back and they interview the players, and the Anthony Davis is like, oh yeah, man, he's got a bad foot. So he just took some time and, everything was fine. LeBron was LeBron again. It was great to have his energy back on the court. He's like chase down blocks, dunking on people. I'm sorry. If you got a sore foot and you take 4 days off, I don't think you're good again all of a sudden. Like, what is that? So, yeah, I'm not going to say it. And disclaimer, I am not suicidal, for any of you wondering. LeBron was taking a leave for some, let's just call it legal reasons, potentially. And his affiliation with Diddy and Jay-Z at these ain't no party like a Diddy party. Okay, pal. Well, I think he got some bigger things to deal with in basketball right now. So I think he went and dealt with some of those things and decided to come back and hope that all of it would just kind of fizzle away. Pretty interesting stuff. But he's back, and I don't know if he'll go on another hiatus or not, but the media definitely wants to hide it, don't they? So, I don't know. What else? I guess it's time for our final segment.
Now here's King of the Hill.
King of the Hill this week. or this episode. I'm a little late to the party on this. I think this was the case back last episode, and I just overlooked it because at the end of the day, I don't care a whole lot about baseball. But the king of the hill this week is Juan Soto. That dude just signed a 15-year, $765 million deal with the New York Mets. If you are a parent out there, which I am, and you want to kind of escort your kid into something that you might be able to retire on in 20 years, baseball's the route. The money in baseball is out of this world ridiculous. I mean, this guy's getting paid, I don't know the math, what is it, $50 million a year for the next 15 years? I mean, what can you even do with that? You could give me that money and I wouldn't know how to spend it all. I don't think I could. I mean, I guess I could buy Bitcoin, but I mean, that's insane. That's insane money. And it turns out this guy is interviewed after he signs, and the reason he left the Yankees is because he was a little bit butthurt that Aaron Judge and some other guy walked in with Trump shirts on in the dugout or in the clubhouse. Oh, what a softie, dude. I mean, whatever, man. If you're a professional athlete and you leave a team because you feel like somebody's a little, I don't know, they don't align with your political views, bro, sack up and get over it. People have all kinds of different opinions, and this whole like I'm offended thing, get over yourself. Just because you're offended does not mean you're right. In fact, it probably means you're wrong. And who cares? This is a free country still. And we can all talk about whatever we want. We can all say whatever we want. We can wear what we want. And that's the beauty of living in this country. And if you don't like it, I guess you should leave. But here we are in this country that just offered you the opportunity to make $765 million over the next 15 years. To make you rich well beyond your wildest dreams. And you're going to be like, I don't like that people can wear political shirts that I don't agree with. Get out of here with that. Give me a break. That is the softest. I don't even know what to say about that. So I wouldn't want that guy on my team. I'd absolutely be putting some clause in his contract about like, if you're that soft, dude, like, let's make this contract out of Charmin. And if you're that soft, I'm wiping my butt with it because that is unbelievable to me. So he's king of the hill, but total softy for that. But I guess anybody who makes $765 million is going to be king of the hill. Congratulations. So that's the show tonight. Again, I apologize for the small break I had with a sick child, but such is life. So appreciate you joining us for episode 3, and looking forward to previewing this coming week's NFL games. More than likely, the episode will be recorded either Thursday night or Friday night, but we'll make sure to get it out. Probably Friday night. We can preview some college football games as well this weekend. But appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.